bàbá mi.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ.
O ṣé o.
O ṣé o.
O ṣé.
O ṣé.
Bàbá mi.
Bàbá mi.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ.
O ṣé o.
O ṣé o.
What that means is, I thank you, my Father. I give thanks to you, or I am grateful to you. Thank you. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. So we're going to split into three. The three of you will start, then the three of you, and then the three of us. Okay, no. Let's just sing it how it goes. You don't have to get it, just listen to the reading. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. Where we can have a little issue is in the P. We don't have a P. We have a P. So that's why it is sounding dúpẹ́ and not dúpẹ́. But if you can say dúpẹ́, that would be fine. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. Everybody sing. O ṣé bàbá mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ rẹ. O ṣé o. Praise the name of the Lord. Well, that is one of the songs from Nigeria. So I'll go into who I am and then go into what the Lord leads me to do. Okay, I'm a Nigerian American. I know so many people say, oh, she came from Nigeria, but to the glory of God, I naturalized as an American as well. And I go by the name Omolola Omotesho. But when I came initially into this country, I was not married, so I was documented in my maiden name, which is Famuyiwa. So when you see two names, don't think I'm confused. It's just that my documentation has my maiden last name, and my in ministry, I use my married name, which is Omolola Omotesho. I call myself a transformation strategist, and in the middle of that is so many things, which just means that what I love doing is to transform lives. Okay, so I work as a media specialist. I've trained as a counselor, a coach. I work as a consultant, amongst other roles. I'm an ordained minister. I have my ecclesiastical endorsement, which is an endorsement, by the U.S. that allows you to minister and to receive funds for ministering. So I got that from a group called International Ministerial Fellowship. I'm a publisher, and I'll be delighted to publish your books when you're ready. If any of you wants to publish a book, publish your story, and I bet we all have stories to tell. Even Letty has story to tell, right? Even on your trip down here, that's a story you may want to publish. So I publish books, and I have a site online where I handle all my publishing, which is writeyours.webs.com. I have a lot of mentors in ministry because I've been in ministry since I was in teenage years. So about two of them I'll mention. One is Pastor Enoch Adejare Adeboye, who is a pastor to millions all over the world. The mission or the ministry in Nigeria has branches in about 200 countries. So he's well revered, and I'm just blessed to have learned from him. I also have as mentor Bishop Jacqueline McCullough. Our ministry is in New York. It's called Beth Rapha. So I've done a lot of things to contribute to faith, to education, empowerment, development, advocacy, advancement on personal level, on church level, on community level, and on country level. Most of this done in collaboration with other people. I've worked in Nigeria, and I've worked here in the US. And at some point, I've been a broadcaster, I've been a journalist, I've been an educator, an advocate, and everything in between, including being a caterer. So the projects I do is to empower people and to transform lives, as I mentioned. And even though I work majorly among the Christian communities, I've also worked among other faiths and other people. During COVID, for instance, one of the projects we did was to give out stationaries and Christian books, to inner city children, and to offer them counseling, even in Bergen County. Many people believe that when a county is tagged rich, it means that they have a lot of rich people, but it also means that they have poor people who may have been forgotten. So we're able to search out some and minister to them. I've organized tours. I've been invited to speak in and out of churches, and 2 or 3 of the churches I've ministered in is Methodist, the Reformed Church, as well as the Redeemed Christian Church of God. It was a great honor to me when I was invited to minister during Dorothy Patterson's 12th anniversary, in a Methodist Episcopal Church. Probably that was last year or year before. Okay, so in a nutshell, I serve Christ. And this is what I do. I create smiles. Anywhere I get to and people are moody, I try to light up the place with smiles. I heal hearts. Some people say, how can you call yourself a healer? Well, my God is a healer. And if I'm his daughter, it means I can equally heal. But I don't go healing. I don't go doing surgeries. I heal through care and counsel. I reach the unreached, I inspire excellence, and I transform lives. That image there was when I was invited to speak in a church that has a capacity of about 2,000 in Nigeria. Recently, it was quite recent. Okay, I oversee 2 charities or non-profits in the US. One is called CARES Global Network, and the other is called Divine Connection. But these are all the initiatives that we have under it. The image right there is in a school. It's a boarding school that has about 1,000, 2,000 students from elementary school, from the first to the 10th grade, or I don't know what grades you have here, but ours is from JS1 to SS3. So we were gathered in the chapel, and the chapel did not take us, so we had to move outside. It's called, the conference is called Inspire to Excel, and I did this particular one in honor of my younger sister who went to be with the Lord, and that's the banner you can see at the background that has Olufikayo written on it. So the different ministries: Divine Connection, Prayer Channel for Nigeria, Excel Leadership Academy, Graceful Women Ministry, Cares for Children, Cares for Street Children, and others. So I'll move to the next slide. Okay, under CARES Global Network, we have what we call the Excel Leadership Academy. And through the Excel Leadership Academy, we train. The lady there holding a microphone was one of my trainees, but she's now, an executive, a top-level media executive in a station, in a public station, public television station in Nigeria. Mrs. Bimboloko was trained by me, and she became involved with me training other young people. So the young people you see there are those who were being trained. And one of them, who is being interviewed, has really, really gone over and beyond now to become a leader in his own right. So some of the things we do is the transformation program, a mentorship program, a management program, media, ministry, mission, marital, marketing, as well as membership. I do want to say that everything I do rests upon 2 two major verses. As a woman who is a Christian, I hold on to the word of God, so firmly, because that's the foundation upon which, I was built, or upon which I was trained. But two verses. One is Ecclesiastes 9:10 that says, whatsoever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, all your strength, because there is no work in the grave where you go. So anything I'm given to do, whether I have to sweep the floor, or I have to, take a walk with a senior, or I have to go to the mall, or I have to speak in Wall Street, it has to be done, to the glory of God. I have to put myself into it. I have to put in my passion and ensure that lives are transformed through it. So you think it's just wash a plate, but somebody is going to wash that plate, use that plate. So if you're careless, somebody can get sick from using that plate. So you cannot be careless, because ultimately you're serving God. So I just wanted to, and the second one is Romans 12:2 that talks about renewing the mind. We cannot be conformed to this world, but we need to be transformed by the word of God. Okay, here I use the picture from 15 years ago. So when people see me, many people believe I just started ministry yesterday or 2 years ago. Facebook just popped up this picture from 15 years ago. And this picture was taken in Ohio while I was doing my master's. Now, I created an outreach program with other students, and I trained other international students to serve as cultural consultants. So we will go to schools in areas where, the population is poor, and we will go and talk about our culture and also teach them. These were children who were not able to travel out of the US. And I remember the first time I went and they asked, how did you get here from Nigeria? A child asked. I was going to answer, and the Holy Spirit said, let them answer. So I asked. Guess what? They mentioned everything but airplane. Can you believe that? They mentioned everything but did not mention airplane. You would think they were trying to be condescending or they were trying to be racist. No, they had never traveled. So in their mind, if I can travel, how could she have traveled? Because they're children. If I've never been in a plane and I'm living in America, how can somebody from Africa have traveled in a plane? And I was like, seriously? Can't you just say plane? And everybody just burst out laughing. So here I was teaching them to dance. So I have on a hat, which is usually worn by men in Nigeria, except the women who are maybe in the royal line, and I'm in the royal line, even though my mom never let them call us prince or princess. But yes, so usually it's the men that wear the cap. But fashion these days, you find some young ones, just throwing the cap. But we use what is called the gele, which is a tie. The mini version is the scarf I tie every now and then. So here it just talks about what we do in Excel Leadership Academy as well. Okay, these are different websites where you can find some of the things we do. I took this picture during a dinner we had for unmarried men and women, mature singles. We realized that in the Christian community, there were a lot of people who desire to be married, and they were not married because they were over spiritualizing things. So we would organize like dinners just to get the Christian men and the Christian women together, talk to them and have them interact. So this woman is a reverend as well, in Nigeria, pastor or Reverend Daily George.
Her eyes are shiny.
Yes. Okay, one of the things we do that I'm sure you've been interested in is the Cares for Street Children. We have a lot of street children in Nigeria, scattered across Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate. The last time I went was the first time I was going very early in the morning, as early as 6:30 a.m. And you could already see 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds walking on the streets
mm,
from one place to the other. So these are people, we started this project about 5 years ago, and we are now seeing changes. One of the things why they remain that way is that those from their ethnic group stop them from getting an education. They know that once they get an education, they want to break free from poverty. And if they break free, they wouldn't be able to use them. So politics is coming and you want people to go and foment trouble and create crisis. These are the children they use. You know, the 10-year-olds, the 12-year-olds that are homeless. So, and oftentimes people just give them whole things. So about 3 years ago, God said to me, you need to consider giving them new things. So last November, we actually gave them brand new towels. And they were so excited to get the brand new towels. It was the first time they were receiving that on the streets. Earlier this year as well, we gave what you see on the lower in the lower image. That's like a sponge case with a sponge, with soap, with toothbrush and toothpaste. And some of them opened it and they just were excited, elated. Me on the street getting a sponge, and they were like comparing, oh, what color did you get? What, you know, they were just so very excited. So we do this, you know, in Nigeria. We've had cause to do it somewhere in New York as well. But presently, they need bags, they need sandals, they need medical care as well. We're trusting God to teach them English. They don't want them to learn English because that is the official language in Nigeria. And once you can interact with someone, you can actually help the person. Because you're going through and fro work and you're seeing a girl or a boy on the road, you can say, why are you here? Where's your mom? Where's your dad? You know, can I go talk to them? Some years ago, that was how I got to pay a girl school fees. I met her on the streets and she was weeping. Why are you weeping, young girl, you know, on the streets? Where are you? She said, oh, my parents just said to me, I'm no longer going to school. They can't afford it. And I'm like, okay, can you take me to your parents? And I went to them and I said, if you don't mind, can I take up her school fees for this year? But if you can't communicate, then what happens? So we're trusting God to be able to get them teachers that would go even if it is once or twice weekly. For now, what we do is just look around for those who are teaching skills and ask them, why don't you go and learn how to make blocks? Why don't you go and serve with somebody cooking so you can learn how to cook? And their perspectives have begun to change. Some of them are actually now in school.
Mama Lola, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but is it okay if we ask a question?
Sure.
Well,
Jump in.
Okay, I'll jump in with one. That academy you were talking about.
Okay.
How long is that a certain amount of the course? Like how long is it, that kind of thing?
Thank you very much. For the mentorship program, it's a minimum of 1 month, but you can do between 1 month and 9 months. For the transformation program, it is 30 days for the classes, which is delivered as devotionals online. And then individually they respond. Then you have another 15 days for you to do your projects. It is through the projects we're able to test whether they are using or they have been transformed. For instance, we teach asking, we teach listening, we teach diligence. We teach integrity. So we now give you a project to do and you're cutting corners. Then we call you back. No, this is not academic. This is spiritual. You've got to do things the right way. We've taught you about asking, and your deadline is approaching and you're not asking for extra time. Then we call you. What magic are you trying to do? You have 2 more days. You've not said anything about your project. And then you say, I was going to ask. No, you were taught about asking. You should have asked. Now, if you ask wrongly, we correct you. Some may say, do you think you can give me 1 extra week? Do you think is not a right question? kindly give me 1 more week. Kindly give me 5 more days. It's direct and straight to the point. Why you say, oh, do you think I can have, then I say, oh, I don't think. And then you're stuck. So it's between 45 days and 90 days minimum.
But it can be completed online.
Yes, it can be completed online. And we're actually trusting God for funds so that we can offer it to more people. And as I mentioned, I don't know if I've already touched on it. I did, maybe we're still going to get to it. One of the things we've done is to start raising funds so that we can offer it to more people. Because at times, those who need it don't have the funds. Those who have the funds say, I don't have the time. So if we can find a way to get in the funds, then we can have, more people get on board. And one of the crises we're having in the world is because minds are not transformed. So you give a young person a job and the person is thinking more about partying than about getting the job done. But if the person's mind is transformed, the person can plan. Yes, I want a party, but I have to get this job done. How do I plan? What do I need to remove? Maybe I'm doing too much of social media. Maybe I need to cut down. Now let's see smiling. Okay. So this is Work with Widows initiative. This is focused on encouragement, empowerment, enlightenment, education, enlivenment, and advocacy for widows. We do things differently. The mentality in a lot of places in Africa is that once you're widowed, because you're abused and maybe your properties are taken from you, you are disinherited, you are dehumanized, then you're a candidate for begging. We change that perspective. You can rise up from ashes into beauty. Recently, a 68-year-old woman who attended one of our workshops started making curry. She didn't used to do anything. She was waiting for somebody in church. Yes, the Bible did say churches should take up widows, should take up orphans. But if you're not taking up, what do you do? So we're putting skills in their hands that helps them to rediscover themselves, find their identity in God, and do something. God said He will bless the works of our hands. What if there's no work in your hands? Then He blesses nothing. It doesn't bless you magically. You have to be doing something. All those who were blessed in the Bible were blessed because they were fulfilling purpose. So we let them discover purpose. We let them, do something. Okay? So we offer them counseling, care, career development, consultancy. Also, those of them who have legal issues, we link them to lawyers who would consult for them, maybe 1 session or 2 sessions free. If they want to continue, of course, they need to discuss funds. We already acquired a land in Nigeria, and we're trusting God that if God provides the funding, we will have a skill acquisition center, right there, so that we can also physically train them.
Is that different from the academy?
The Work with Widows is different from their skill acquisition will serve the academy as well as serve them. But this is for those who have been widowed, because there's a lot of discrimination in Africa against the widows. A lot. So you said? Yes. Yes. Even within the churches. You find some people, once their husband dies, even if the woman is a pastor, nobody invites her to minister anymore.
Why?
Yes.
Do you have complete freedom to do your Christian work?
Yes, we do have freedom, but you must understand that there's some areas that are largely Islamic or Muslim. Mm-hmm. So in those areas, there are clampdowns, but we're free, we're at liberty, to do the work we do. For instance, one of the days I went to see the children on the streets, those who didn't know me, they keep changing. They're nomadic. They move from place to place. In the morning, they go and beg. At times, from begging, you don't know where they end up. Some of them are kidnapped. Some of them, different things happen to them. So one that didn't know me started telling an elderly man, oh, she's been roaming around. Because what we did this time was to do a praise and prayer walk, just to take over the place for God. because they're building more and more shelters instead of finding homes. So we just decided, okay, we'll do prayer, work, and praise before we would give out the gifts we came with. And one of them was like, look at that woman, she's been roaming. And one actually came to challenge me that, oh, woman, what are you looking for? And I'm like, in Nigeria? I'm a Nigerian. I can't be anywhere. Anyway, so yes, this is talking more about the academy. This is the cost per student, and it talks about the term, 45 days to 90 days minimum, depending on whether you're doing the transformation one or the mentorship. They are slightly different. The mentorship is heavy on projects, and then the transformation is heavy on the classes, the devotionals. And then the students are to respond one-on-one. The pictures there show our best graduating students for the last set. Our best graduating students is the lady above, and these three were the first, second, and the third, for the last set we had. We have another set now. So I already talked about it. The positive transformation we're seeing is why we really want to do more. And these three have really been driving me to do more. They're putting it on social, they're young, they know more about social media. So we need to do, because they saw the transformation in their own lives. One of them was about to quit her work. And during the transformation program, she's like, now I know what to do. I don't need to quit. And then she just added some other things to what she is doing. Okay, give to the less privileged. I already mentioned some of the things we do 3 times a year. During Easter, middle of the year, and end of the year, we give out free counsel and we give out groceries. And the value of what we give per person is $10 to $25. Now, if we multiply, our currency is different. The value of the dollar is higher than the value of the naira. So what we call $10 there is actually about 4,500 of our own money, which is what was used to buy all that, all that in the lower level. So what we do is, because we do it nationally, we look for people who nominate widows. Now, if you nominate a widow, you are the one we will verify. Once we verify that the person is actually widowed and, poor, you are the one we will send the money to. We would have listed what you would buy. You will buy it, you will deliver it, and you will take an image as proof. Now, that cuts down us having to go everywhere. So we're able to reach more. But then a problem came up. Some of those who were nominating were equally poor. So you put money in the hands of somebody who is poor and you expect them to deliver your message. They may not. So we came up with a strategy. If you're also in need and you nominate a widow, you split the gift with the widow. So whatever transportation and logistics, you bear it yourself. So if, for instance, the $10, 5 will go to you, but that 5 is also going to cover your logistics and a gift for you. And the other 5 or the other 20 will go to the widow. And that was how we were able to solve that problem and remove people trying to steal. Because if I'm in need and I have to go and deliver $25 to someone and you expect me to use my gas, you expect me to, something may go missing if I'm not a Christian. So, but we were able to remove that problem. So the $25 will be split and you will bear the cost as well as give yourself a gift. We're presently doing one, and I was able to receive a gift just last week from someone in New Jersey of $400, which is going to go into this project as well. Okay, we do a loan scheme, and this is one of the quotes I have out there. Widowhood is a calling, not a curse. Just to remove the discrimination, the dehumanization. And I actually wrote a book on widowhood, calling, not curse. The book is now on Amazon. And I'm trusting God that with funding, we can print and just give it out. Not only to widows, but to others as well. Another book I recently wrote is Prophecies, Promises, and Prayers for Widows. just so that they know that God has a plan for them. So,
excuse me, what is the history behind this curse for widowhood?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. It dates back to the Bible. Abuse of widows dates back to the Bible. You remember the story about the widow of Zarephath? You remember the story about yes. I mean, they were going to, another widow in the Bible, they were going to come and take her sons because her husband did not pay the debts. So this dates back to the Bible. But in Nigeria, it dates back to men just wanting wealth. Widowhood at times positions women to take on wealth. So you're married to a billionaire and he dies. All the wealth transfers to you. The culture being patriarchal, they believe you, a woman, shouldn't be in charge of that. The man's family should be in charge of that. So by abusing you, by discriminating against you, by making other people see you in bad light, then they can take the wealth away from you. In some families, they would insist that if you cannot marry from your husband's family, maybe his brother, then you can't keep the wealth.
And what do they do with the New Testament where there's Timothy or someone says, care for the widows?
It is unfortunate that most of those who do it in Nigeria are Christians. Because the Muslims have a sharing ratio. When a man dies, they have how they share things. It may not be legal, but at least the plan for their widows. They may not share it appropriately, but they do give them something. But Christians seem to, as long as they believe no church member is watching, they seem to do whatever they like. So majority of those who do this, at times they send the widow out of her home. And unfortunately, it equally happens here in America. From the research I did, there's a woman called Andy Polk. When her husband died and they realized she didn't have any other family member, the bank schemed to take her home. Because she didn't want to be homeless, she shot herself in the heart or the head. Ooh. Yes, the story is online. A 90-something-year-old woman. And when God saved her from dying instantly, maybe just to preserve her so that she can still make heaven. I don't know. But while she was on her sick bed, the bank was now saying, oh, we made an error. Oh, we're going to give it back. So anything that would make people steal wealth is just fraud. It's coming through widowhood, but it comes through different angles, especially when people believe you're standing alone. So they just want to grab and get. The Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked. So they just want to take, and leave you out in the cold. But you see, there's so many retributive justice in the Bible that the Bible talks about. So if you steal from a widow, God is going to do this, God is going to do that. But they seem to I don't want to hear it. But God keeps fighting for widows, but to save them from depression, because some of them actually commit suicide. Yeah, I can believe that. Some of their children commit suicide. A young man reached out to me online, when he heard I'm a counselor, and he said, oh, I need you. I'm ready to kill myself, but I need you to take care of my mom. And I'm like, You aren't killing yourself, your mom and killing, because if you kill yourself, your mom can equally kill herself. So I had to save them both through the help of God, through the help of counsel. And what I said to him was, wherever you're working, keep working there. Help will come. Why was he depressed? He didn't find anybody to sponsor his education. And he was working as a laborer. But with counsel, he saw a better view of himself. And for the mother, she wasn't doing anything. I said, no. God, if you're doing nothing, then there's nothing for God to bless. So I asked her to go and volunteer somewhere. And guess what? The husband of the woman she was volunteering for heard about her son and picked up his school fees.
Wow. Praise God.
You mentioned 2 books you wrote about this.
Yes.
The first one was Widows.
Widowhood. A calling, not a curse.
Okay.
Yes, calling, not a curse. Yes, just what I have there. Calling, not a curse. Okay.
And you want to know the second one, Sister Maria?
No, that was the promise.
Yes, prophecies, promises, and prayers for widows. So we give out loans in order to help them. For those who have been trained or have picked up something to do, we give them loans to help them. And this is pulled together by some of my friends and partners in ministry. Okay, so CGN Books. I mentioned that I publish books. I came to understand that one way to care for souls is, or to heal souls or to transform lives, is through books. You can be in the comfort of your room and you pick your Bible and it's speaking to you, right? So I do publish books. To the glory of God, I've done about 15 titles, some authored in my own name, some authored in other people's name. And this is just one of them, Living Proof That Jesus Lives. Living Proof contains testimonies that I was involved in, that God used me to birth. So it's just a lot of beautiful stories that still bring smile to my heart. One of it was a lady who was trusting God for a child, and God said to me, you need to go and minister to her. And I'm like, so when I was in UK, I called her on the phone and I said, oh, we need to see. And she just, discounted the visit, and I prayed for her over the phone. She did get pregnant, but she lost the pregnancy. So the next time I said, okay, I have to obey God. God said, see her. So I said to her, we have to meet. So we met, we prayed. I can't remember if I anointed her. And to the glory of God, she went ahead to have a set of twins. So there's so many stories like that in Living Proof That Jesus Lives. Just a book that can make an atheist see that through ordinary people, God can do extraordinary things if only you yield your heart. My first book was just a notebook that I wrote different things in. I went to a boarding house for my elementary. That is, we had to stay, you know about boarding schools. So I stayed there, and I had in my corner this notebook that I wrote different things, and I titled it Teenage Blunders. And I didn't let anybody take it out of my corner. So for you to read it, you had to come to my corner, But by 2000, I published a magazine, and by 2009, I published my first book, which is titled Dear JB. JB is John Brown, the abolitionist. I don't know if we know him. The abolitionist that helped, a lot of African American slaves. And I'm like, why do I need to write about him? I was teaching in schools then, and God gave me the idea of compiling what the children. I said to the children, if Mr. John Brown were to appear to you, what would you say to him? So each of them wrote, and we compiled, and they had different things. One said, how dare you think you can save some people by killing some people? And others will say, oh, that was a good thing you did. And it just lets us into the mind of children. Their different thought process. Some of the things we think they have no idea about or shouldn't concern them, maybe politics or governance, these children have things to say. So the compilation is Dear JB. After that, I published Pillar of Strength, which was about women being the pillar of strength in the house, in the home, in the community, in ministry. And you women are pillars of strength. You've done so many things, whether as a daughter, a sibling, a mother, a sister, a minister, a friend. We are pillars that holds our world. If women should down tools in the home, if women should down tools in fellowship dictionary, there wouldn't be work. So God has led me to write different titles thereafter. Okay, just one book. This is a book, Just Sharing is the title of the book I wrote for my 40th birthday 10 years ago. Around this time 10 years ago. It led me to start a project, through which people sponsor copies and then I give it out free. People sponsor copies. We rested that project, but we just brought it back last year. And why did we bring it back? I was in Nigeria, and in faraway Texas, somebody saw a copy of this book on the floor. No name. The person picked it, started looking for the owner, no owner. And our children picked interest in the book. On their way to school, they would read a chapter. On their way back, they would read and they would discuss. The person called me and said, I need 50 copies. I had to go back to press because we were no longer printing. I was actually at a point where I started asking God, do you really want me to keep writing and publishing? Because after we do the first and second press run, I don't really continue. Because yes, I go to minister, I take my books open to sell. And before you know it, I'm giving it out. I'm seeing somebody, in the crowd and I'm saying, see me after the service, I'm going to give you 1 book. I'm going to give you 2 books. And I've given out all the books. And I realized I'm not a marketer. I'm sent to save souls. I'm not sent to focus on the money. So there has to be somebody focusing on that aspect. So we brought back just 1 book as a project. And the idea is you can give funds, whether for 1, for 100, for 1,000 books. And then we get it into the right hands. And this image was taken during a conference I attended. Some of my best images were taken, or action images were taken by people who don't know me. I don't know the photographer. Somebody found it online and sent it to me. And that is one thing about the work we do. It is the work that will shed its own light. You may not be the one who would announce yourself. You may not be the one who will directly work for the money. But as you transform lives, as you do things to the glory of God, as you serve purpose, God will shine his light on you and divinely announce you. This was posted on Twitter, on the conference website. And everybody started, I'm like, who took the photograph? We don't know. So on that note, I want to say thank you very much. God bless you. If you have questions, we have just few more minutes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You said a lot.
Yes. You wanted to know what I do.
Oma Lola, to me, it sounds like this much administrative work, because you have so many. How is that possibly managed? What is your...
Thank you so much. For everything we do, we set up a committee. And that is the benefit we get from our mentorship program. For instance, we're doing a program on March 8th. It's going to be online. I'm not the one running amok or running helter skelter. The young people who are under my mentorship are the one designing the flyer. They just come back to me to correct. They are the ones, doing the publicity. And we already have a Facebook page that has about 150 people. That's an audience right there. So we don't have to pay or look for or start running around. If we have to do it in the conference center, for instance, we have to raise the money. We have to look for speakers. So from those I've trained over the years, they play some of those roles. I coordinate, I lead. One of the things I do that I wrote in there that I didn't talk about is our Graceful Women Ministry. We just raise graceful female leaders. So at times when I need to go and speak and I'm not available, because I've trained them, I can ask them to go and represent me. So I don't have to be in all the places. I'm also developing manuals for the things we do, so that if I need to do something, I don't have to sit somebody down to start instructing. I send you the manual. We have a program we're going to do next month. This is all the things you have to think about. One of those I'm mentoring now had to go through that process, develop a model. So we compiled that. We've done a book on volunteering. So when you start volunteering with us, we send you the book. So you know exactly what volunteering is all about. It's not about you getting to a point and saying, I was thinking you would pay me. No, it is volunteering. It's not a job. So yes, it looks like huge administration, but I have people I work with. Secondly, God has simplified things for me. God has told me how to do big things in very simple ways. A woman who said she's interested in a widow's program and wants to start coordinating it kept calling me. We need to do a meeting. You are traveling. We need to meet. I said, We were together during the streets children program, or children on the streets. I don't like calling them street children. Children on the street program. We've talked about it. You've told me you're interested. I've mentioned it to the board. We don't need to meet again. The only thing now is we find a venue. You give me a date. We get the time. My mentees do the flyers, and we roll. That's it. But some people will start meeting. You know, a minister once said, a committee without commitment will commit sin. So you just need to be committed and know what you want to do. So, and the experiences I've gathered over the years positions me in such a way that I don't have to lose my head because I'm planning a program. For instance, I wasn't going to do an elaborate PowerPoint. But when you said to me, oh, we're going to hook up, I'm like, okay.
I hope you'll be able to use it other places.
They are expecting more than I was going to do, because I was just going to add all the pictures somewhere and I was just going to show pictures and just, I'm like, okay, she's expecting more. And then because I have the skill, if I don't have the skill, just imagine where that would have put me. Then I'm looking for somebody to pay. I may not be able to meet up, but I'm blessed with this huge skills. Huge repertoire of skills that mentoring and transforming lives just helps me to pass on to other people.
As a personal question,
Please
do
go.
you want to, are you a widow?
Myself, I was.
Oh, okay.
So let me put it that way. Why did you ask?
Well, this is all about being a widow.
No, not really, because I started doing this even before my own experience. Yes, it's a calling over and beyond you being widowed. At times, God gives you a passion for something. For instance, work with widows is not just for widows. It's for widows and those who want to work with widows. You get it? It's not just for widows. So it's just to help. You know, when God puts a passion in your heart, it can take you everywhere or anywhere. I started with children. At some point, God took me to those who were unmarried. At some point, God took me to the seniors, you know. And this season, God is having me minister to those who are widowed. And to the glory of God, many of them who would never have remarried, because they are now far away from depression, they are now, you know, healed enough to love again. So, any other question?
Big ministry.
Yes. And God is bringing us people to make it easier. Any other question?
Your purpose that you came now to the United States
Yes.
is...
Okay, I've been in the United States off and on since 2005 actually. Yes, I've been in the United States off and on since 2005, doing different things, including working as a teacher. You know, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago we set up CARES Global Network. So one of the things I'm hoping to do now is to be able to complete our 501c process, raise funds, maybe work in order to earn. And one of the reasons why, because I traveled back in order to do full-time ministry in Nigeria. You know, we had properties here. I discussed that with you and all that. But I traveled back to do full-time ministry in Nigeria. But I said to myself, the currency, the disparity in currency, we don't want it to continue that way, right? But presently there's a disparity in the value of the currency. If I were to earn money in Nigeria, it would only help me do this much. If I earn money in America, it could help me do this much because of the value. The American dollar is 450 times 450 our own money. So if I earn $1 here, just imagine how much more I can use it to do.
That's how it was when I first came to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar would be 4 francs in
Uh-huh.
Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it didn't used to be that bad. There was a time my mom was sponsoring one of her sisters here in America, and it was almost $1 to a naira. It was almost $1, but it's so bad now, we don't pray it remains that way, but while it is still that way, we can use it to be a blessing, I didn't get to hear your name, ma'am.
My name?
Yes, please.
Francis Pollard, Fran.
Fran, okay. A pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming.
Excuse me, but I was just wondering, who is continuing the work now that you're gone?
Okay.
You have people that...
Yes, the work is continuing because we've been able to start a lot of things online. For instance, our Inspire to Excel conference, we go to schools to do it. While it can still be done in school because I have trained people to do it, even some of my colleagues volunteer. Some of those who are executives volunteer. At times I work with my alumni, school alumni to do it. But we started doing a lot of things online. For instance, we have a conference on March 8th. I'm not in Nigeria. Majority of those who will join are from Nigeria. Where are we doing it? We're doing it on WhatsApp and Zoom. So they're able to log in. I had a training last month. It was on WhatsApp. I trained people on how they can discover their purpose. I did another training to give them a roadmap for planning anything they want to do. Whether it's a program or a project, this roadmap will help you plan it. A business or mission work, this roadmap, and it was done via WhatsApp. And we had 155 participants.
Wow.
So if I were to be physical in Nigeria, I have to pay for the conference hall. I have to do publicity on radio and television. I have to, get a team together that would probably pay. That I can't afford now. So we have a place we're yet to build it. I have an office in my home. God helped me to build a small place in Nigeria where we have an office. Young people who work with me have access to the place. So we continue, as Willie May says. So we continue the work. Yeah.
I'm trying to
And
read.
it's a big, strong country,
Yes.
Nigeria.
Yes.
What's the
We have no
capital?
idea.
I'm not...
Abuja. The capital used to be Lagos, but they moved it to Abuja. Yes. And it's a country of between 220 and 240 million people.
Mhm.
No.
Okay, to be continued, because Omolola is with us, and Sister Hannah, would you close in prayer for Omolola and for her ministry?
Thank you.
Lord Jesus, we thank you so much that you are all over the same, our faithful Lord, and all we need. We thank you for the ministry you have entrusted to Omolola and her friends there in her homeland and here as well. We just praise you because you are the only one that gives us wisdom and grace to help those in need, and that seems to be something that Omolola is able to do so much. And so we thank you. We thank you also for this gathering together. We thank you for your grace that we have freedom to do that. We praise you, Lord Jesus, in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so
I
much.
have a question.
Please.
Can you tell us how many Christians are born again Christians there are
In Nigeria. Well, we have about 55 to 60% of Christians.
55?
Yes, to 60%. But when they want to put out information, they often make it seem like Muslims are more, but the Christians are actually more.
Yes, so you have more than we have less than half now.
Yes.
America is going down.